Benjamin Recktenwald, and I teach AP Gov and Regular Gov. So there's been a civil war going on in Syria for, I guess, now the third year, I think. And it's basically a three-way conflict between the Syrian government, kind of rebels who are trying to reform the government and get rid of the dictator in power, Assad. And then there's ISIS, which is a fundamentalist, jihadist, whatever term you want to use, organization that's taken over, I think, now about a third of the country. So it's kind of this really complex three-way civil war. And part of the problem is that the U.S. has been backing some of the anti-government rebels, the Soviet Union, and Russia is now backing the Assad regime, and ISIS is just blowing stuff up left and right, being really ruthless. And so, since the war started, there's been a problem with refugees flooding into neighboring countries. So some have gone into Jordan, some have gone to Lebanon, a lot have gone into Turkey, and apparently people have just kind of finally been fed up, and now the refugees have decided to start streaming into Europe, looking for places like Germany or Sweden, generally that are usually pretty open to refugees coming to the countries. But it's not all, happy and fun, because there are some countries in Europe that don't want the refugees. I think the only real legitimate reason for not wanting refugees in the country in this regard would be if you could prove that they weren't really refugees and they were instead like terrorists. But there's little or no proof that that's the case. And in fact, international law grants these people certain legal protections. And a number of countries in Europe, especially Sweden, for example, has openly said stuff like, they're big believers in human rights, and that they believe that refugees have a right to be protected, to find shelter. And these people aren't necessarily looking to move into Europe, they're just looking for safety. And hopefully when things calm down in Syria, a lot of them are looking to move back. But it's a matter of just looking for somewhere they can literally just not get killed. Mm-hmm. Some place they can have somewhere to sleep, some food to eat, and their kids are safe. Because it's not just, one of the misconceptions I think some people are having is it's just a bunch of grown-ups who are looking for better jobs. And it's families with small children. And so, it's kind of a scary situation. And there are, so far as I'm trying to remember the numbers, I think about 1 million refugees have come into Europe so far in the last year, but there's something like 4 million people displaced from Syria. So this isn't even all of it. A lot of people are being affected by the war in Syria. The public in the United States have always been really generous as far as giving money to organizations like the Red Cross or other humanitarian groups. In fact, the public in the United States has always been very generous when it comes to helping non-governmental organizations like the Red Cross or Doctors Without Borders or other groups like that are helping people in need. The U.S. government, I think, never does enough, because our government has so many resources at our disposal. For example, we could have the entire U.S. Navy basically floating out in the Mediterranean Ocean and making sure that the boats full of refugees trying to get across the Mediterranean don't sink, but we don't. We could provide medical facilities. We could set up medical hospitals, military hospitals, with obviously the approval of Turkey, but put them in Turkey where the refugees are. There's all kinds of stuff our government could be doing that's not doing. We could be accepting refugees into our country. The U.S. has a long history of accepting people from displaced people from conflicts in the world, and we're not doing it. So I find that frustrating. There have been questions. I think it was Ben Carson was interviewed, and they asked him, or it might have been in one of the debates. He was asked about refugees, and he said, "Well, we got to make sure before we let anybody come into our country, they're not terrorists." I'm like, they're not. The vast majority of people aren't even remotely terrorists. And I have yet to hear about a single case of a refugee coming out of Syria, ending up in Europe, and being a terrorist. I'm like, where's the proof? If there's no proof, then what are we doing? Part of the point, people talk about how the U.S. is the leader in the world, and we're not leading. We're leading in blowing stuff up. We're not leading in solving humanitarian crises or negotiating problems. That it seems that all our country is really good at doing is blowing stuff up.